Welcome everybody, I am Zzandrio, and I am going to try out Dear Esther today. We're going to play this game. Chapter 1, The Lighthouse. So, I don't know anything about Dear Esther, other than it was a mod for... is it a mod for Half-Life 2? I can't remember for sure, but it has since been made into a standalone game, and we're just going to check it out.
I've lost track of how long I've been here, and how many visits I have made overall. Certainly the landmarks are now so familiar to me that I have to remind myself to actually see the forms and shapes in front of me. I could stumble blind across these rocks, the edges of these precipices, without fear of missing my step and plummeting down to sea. Besides, I have always considered that if one is to fall, it is critical to keep one's eyes firmly open.
Well, apparently I am on an island I've been to many, many times before. Ooh, I've got a flashlight. This is some kind of dilapidated building. Some sort of book here. Interesting. As far as I know, this is just some sort of exploration type game. I don't think there's any combat or anything involved. Ooh, what's in the shed? This little paint shed is full of paint cans. Okay. Wow. Let's go up here. Is that a lighthouse in the distance? Well, this is a lighthouse here. What is that light in the distance? What kind of red light? Is it a second lighthouse? It's got a blinking red light atop. We're gonna have to go investigate that. We'll see what it is. Oh, my goodness, this looks quite dangerous. Careful there. Lose your foot and you'll fall right down.
Donnelly reported the legend of the Hermit, a holy man who sought solitude in its most pure form. Allegedly, he rode here from the mainland in a boat without a bottom, so all the creatures of the sea could rise at night to converse with him. How disappointed he must have been with their chatter. Perhaps now, when all that haunts the ocean is the rubbish dumped from the tankers, he'd find more peace. They say he threw his arms wide in a valley on the south side, and the cliff opened up to provide him shelter. They say he died of fever 116 years later. The shepherds left gifts for him at the mouth of the cave, but Donnelly records they never claimed to have seen him. I have visited the cave and I have left my gifts, but like them, I appear to be an unworthy subject of his solitude.
Okay, some sort of hermit. Lived in the cave for more than 100 years. Is that even possible? Oh, I've fallen! I guess I can't get to this tower? We'll walk along the beach instead. Quite the barren landscape down here, actually. What is this? Little wire boxes? Is that like things they catch crabs in? Lobsters or whatever?
At night, you can see the lights sometimes from a passing tanker or trawler. From up on the cliffs, they are mundane. But down here, they fugue into ambiguity. For instance, I cannot readily tell if they belong above or below the waves. The distinction now seems banal. Why not everything and all at once? There's nothing better to do here than indulge in contradictions whilst waiting for the fabric of life to unravel.
Oh, I can kind of zoom in if I click my mouse. Well, that's interesting.
A wonderful sight. The moon cresting the junction between the cliff path and the stone circle. It cast a shadow of the ridge across the beach, all the world as if you had signed your name in untidy handwriting.
Is that the moon? It's gotta be the sun. It's too bright for that to be the moon. It's kind of a pretty sky. That light in the distance does not seem to be getting much closer.
When someone had died or was dying, or was so ill they gave up what little hope they could sacrifice, they cut parallel lines into the cliff, exposing the white chalk beneath. You could see them from the mainland or the fishing boat, and know to send aid or impose a cordon of protection, and wait a generation until whatever pestilence stalked the cliff paths died along with its hosts. My lines are just for this, to keep any would-be rescuers at bay. The infection is not simply of the flesh.
Ooh, we've got barbed wire fence over here. Stop me from going that way. Well, apparently, I just need to follow the path.
I quote directly. A motley lot with little to recommend them. I have now spent 3 days in their company. That is, I fear, enough for any man not born amongst them. Despite their tedious inclination to quote scripture, they seem to me the most godforsaken of all the inhabitants of the Outer Isles. Indeed, in this case, the very gravity of that term, forsaken by God, seems to find its very apex. It appears to me that Donnelly, too, found those who wander this shoreline to be adrift from any chance of redemption. Did he include himself in that, I wonder?
Who is this Donnelly fellow he was talking about? Boy, this path is not very well worn. There hasn't been people walking on this for a while. There's a lot of flowers growing over the top of this thing. Now, have I just arrived here in a boat? Or was I washed ashore or something? I'm not sure. But here we're going back down to the water for some reason. Is that a cave down there? That's the cave I saw. I saw that out from the exit of the other cave up there.
Dear Esther, I met Paul. I made my own little pilgrimage. My Damascus, a small semi-detached on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. We drank coffee in his kitchen and tried to connect to one another. Although he knew I hadn't come in search of an apology, reason or retribution, he still spiraled in panic, thrown high and lucid by his own dented bonnet. Responsibility had made him old. Like us, he'd already passed beyond any conceivable boundary of life.
Paul. I believe this is... I saw from the other side, but I might be mistaken because I'm not seeing that cave from here.
I would leave you presents outside your retreat in this interim space between cliff and beach. I would leave you loaves and fishes, but the fish stocks have been depleted and I've run out of bread. I would row you back to your homeland in a bottomless boat, but I fear we would both be driven mad by the chatter of the sea creatures.
Ooh, what is this in here? What is all this blue on the walls? Is this cave paintings of some sort? I'm not sure what this is even supposed to be. Oh, okay. A can of paint. And a bowl of bones. Interesting. Is that all that's in this cave? What was that? There was some sort of sound from out of here. What was that sound? Well, maybe I can continue on to the right here. Very moody, the music. It's kind of a nice relaxing little journey I'm on here. Oh, what a lovely little stream. I feel I might be working my way towards that tower over there.
I've become convinced I am not alone here, even though I'm equally sure it is simply a delusion brought upon by circumstance. I do not, for instance, remember where I found the candles, or why I took it upon myself to light such a strange pathway. Perhaps it is only for those who are bound to follow.
Candle? What candles? So I looked at this off the edge up there. It appears to be like a little mini Stonehenge of sorts. Or is it a cemetery? These, no, it can't. It's not laid out to be a cemetery. Wait a minute. Is that a Bible? Units in chemistry. A chemistry book and a Bible laid before a pillar of rock with a painting on it, but chemistry. Chemistry. This is some kind of chemical picture there. Okay. Interesting. Well, let's continue on. Not sure what the purpose of this fence line everywhere is here. Is there domestic animals? Like, has somebody got cows that they don't want to walk into this cliff or something? I mean, that's generally what barbed wire fences are for. Oh, if I go down there, I'm not gonna be able to get back up. Oh, it's gotten dark. So I'm really unsure what's going on here. Am I like...
Dear Esther, I have now driven the stretch of the M5 between Exeter and Bristol over 21 times. But although I have all the reports and all the witnesses, and have cross-referenced them within a millimetre using my Ordnance Survey maps, I simply cannot find the location. You'd think there would be marks to serve as some evidence. It's somewhere between the turn-off for Sanford and the welcome brake services. But although I can always see it in my rear-view mirror, I have as yet been unable to pull ashore.
So who is Esther, and who is this narrator? It seems the narrator has been on this island, because he's talking about it. But now he's talking about something in England? I'm not sure. We got empty tin cans strewn about the path. Is that a boat down there? Several shipwrecks? Let's go investigate that. My goodness. This appears to be train cars loaded on the boat. And the boat has crashed ashore. What cargo was it carrying? Is that where all the paint came from? Is there any way I can get on that boat? Doesn't really appear to be any way to get up on this boat. Let's just look around this other side. I'm still kind of heading in the general direction of that blinking red light. What is in here? I cannot get in here. Well, I think I will just move on past. Nothing really of interest in the shipwreck. Is it a second shipwreck, or is that just parts of the other shipwreck?
There must be a hole in the bottom of the boat. How else could new hermits have arrived?
What? Okay, why is this rock circled and there's a line from over here and this line drawn up onto the side of the rock? Interesting. It's a mystery. Someone trying to leave me a message? I'm just not getting it, perhaps? And what is this talk about? This talk of hermits with bottomless boats. How can you have a bottomless boat and not sink? Unless it's a glass-bottomed boat, I suppose. Let's continue on towards the blinking red light. That seems to be my beacon in this world. I want to head towards it. For some reason, it draws me to it.
I had kidney stones, and you visited me in the hospital. After the operation, when I was still half submerged in anesthetic, your outline and your speech both blurred. Now my stones have grown into an island and made their escape, and you have been rendered opaque by the car of a drunk.
So, Esther was hit by a drunk driver? Is that what's going on? And, the narrator is recounting his memories of her, perhaps? Ooh, that's a, I don't want to fall off there. That's a pretty deep chasm. What the hell? It's a giant sinkhole in the ground there. I have got to go closer. I have got to take a look here.
When I first looked into the shaft, I swear I felt the stones in my stomach shift in recognition.
How close to the edge can I get? Oh my god. I'm nervous. Nervous. Ooh. Yeah, no, we will not be going down there. Where is my blinking red beacon of light? There's some sort of building over here. There's the red beacon.
I've begun my ascent on the green slope of the western side. I've looked deep into the mountain from the shaft and understood that I must go up and then find the way under. I will stash the last vestiges of my civilization in the stone walls and work deeper from there. I'm drawn by the aerial and the cliff edge. There is some form of rebirth waiting for me there.
Is someone performing surgery in here? That looked like surgical instruments in a tray to me.